We are back from recess from our Wednesday committee meeting regarding the governor's executive order. And before we had went to recess, I can't recall, members. I forget the reason why we got into recess. Oh, yes. Yeah. Now that we have received our legal analysis, legal opinion from our counsel, Joe Hallahan, we have received that now, so we are ready to reconvene. And can I get a motion that we dissolve into committee of the whole so we can have Mr. Counsel Robbie Glass partake in our meeting in case any of the members have any questions or clarifications? That it's a motion to dissolve into committee of the whole and has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. We are now under committee of the whole. Thank you, Mr. Glass, for your time today. We appreciate you coming. So, members, we're back under discussion, and if you have any questions that would you like to direct to Mr. Glass, you can. And if you want some clarification from our legal analysis that was recently drafted by Counsel Hallahan, you may also do so. So, discussion in the floor. Recognize Congressman Sablan. You raised your hand.
Thank you, Chair. I think we should focus under the committee as a whole with questions. If there is, I don't have questions for Robbie Glass, but with regards to the our legal counsel, Joe Hallahan, with his legal opinion, we can do that when we rise back, because as he's here with us since this morning. But maybe perhaps to just, in the interest of time, let's just focus on questions to Mr. Robbie Glass under committee as a whole.
Thank you, Congressman. Representative, our floor leader, Madam Floor Leader.
Thank you, Chairman. And I'm not sure if I want to start with a question or maybe request the chairman that Attorney Glass provide us some history, because in respect to and we're just going to focus on the EO. So in respect to the EO, we know that the Commonwealth Casino Commission is to regulate casino gaming, which that is very explicit here. But I know that there's information that Attorney Glass can share within this scope as an attorney. Has there been in any court document, legal proceeding that is privy to the public, open to the public, where the Casino Commission has been actively participating in a conflict of interest in regard to their roles and responsibilities? Because the EO says that they are regulatory, and the lottery is another function to supervise, organize, operate, to produce maximum net revenues, blah, blah, blah. So I just want to know, is there anything in there, is there anything that you can share with us that's open to the public where there was any conflict of interest from the CCC outside of their regulatory function?
Thank you for that question. So if I understand it correctly, I just want to make sure I'm on the same page. You're asking if the CCC ever got into a conflict of interest with the regulations they were supposed to impose, or within what the Lottery Commission is supposed to do. I mean, they do have very separate functions.
Correct. And so the commission is regulatory. They should not in any way, shape, or form, unless I'm wrong, be negotiating terms with the IPI. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say that's correct. I mean, they're the regulatory body of the casino, so I don't think they would be involved in any kind of discussions directly with IPI necessarily, unless they've called IPI in before them to, discuss some regulatory issue, right? Which they did on numerous occasions, to my knowledge.
Okay, so then here's my second question. has IPI made full commitment in their payments after 2022? Because they are behind on certain fees, correct? Have they collected any of that so far?
No,
Regulatory.
my understanding is IPI actually stopped paying in 2020, and I don't think they've paid any of the licensing fees or the regulatory fees since that time.
So technically, because they have not been making payment, the Casino Commission they legally have not been paid because there's legally no casino, correct? And they're not getting any payment, either back pay or payments now.
Well, I would say that they haven't, I mean, certainly the CCC has not received any payment, right? Because IPI has made no payment. And,
Okay.
And so to that regard, yes, right? Because IPI hasn't paid anything in. They've certainly requested payments, and there are definitely some obligations that I imagine have been incurred for the building and phone lines and different things like that.
Okay.
But to my knowledge, none of that's been paid just because, again, they're supposed to get that money from the regulatory fee, which has not been paid, which I believe is 2020.
Okay, has the casino filed any kind of proposals to the Attorney General in regard to negotiations with the IPI?
I know there were some settlement discussions at one point while they were doing the revocation hearing. I know that was sent to the Attorney General's office because the Attorney General has to sign off for legal form and sufficiency on things. And so I know that there was discussion of that at some point.
Okay, and are we privy to that information, sir?
I would think so because it's just a settlement discussion.
Okay.
I also believe it was read into the record at their revocation hearing, if I'm not mistaken.
Do you recall what was?
I wasn't present there, so I don't know exactly what
All
was
right.
read in, but I remember being told that they had read in the settlement discussion as one of the items and exhibits towards the end of their revocation hearings.
Because I've been asking since the 23rd legislature, and I believe, and I got to go back to my record, but I know that I put in a request for all the minutes and all the actions and memorandums, resolutions that the Casino Commission has implemented. And it's now the fiscal year 2025, and I have yet to see any of those documents produced. So because of that, I don't think that the CCC has acted in the best interest of the Commonwealth. I guess the question that we were having when we went to recess was all this legality and what is constitutional, what's constitutional. I believe that that's not the question. That question should be posed already at this point to the courts. If we cannot agree, our counsels are guiding us to come to an informed choice, but we are still kind of at a deadlock or whatever, because I don't know what the members are going to do for this action. But I totally believe now that if some of us feel that the question is the constitutionality of the EO, our job here is not to question that there's a separate entity for that. And that should be now given to the court for them to decide. Wouldn't you think that that's the best interest right now for us to do? Because the question is the constitutionality of the EO. But I'm not an attorney. I know my constitution. But if that's the question, wouldn't you think that it should just go to the AG now or the court for them to decide that? If the debate is about the constitutionality of the EO.
Sure, and I think if that is the central question, is the EO constitutional or not, certainly only the court can declare something unconstitutional. Neither the executive branch nor, no offense to the legislative branch, can declare something unconstitutional. That's the job of the courts.
Correct.
And so if you were looking to say that something is definitively constitutional or unconstitutional, yes, the courts are the only ones that can do that.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm just going to kind of let that marinate for a little bit and while I figure out if I want to ask another question. Thank you, Chairman. I yield my time.
Thank you, Madam Floor Leader. The floor is still open for clarifications or questions to recognize Representative Aquino.
Good afternoon, Attorney Glass.
Good afternoon.
So in 1999, there was a request for an advisory opinion by the CNMI Supreme Court. And this was whether the governor could reorganize or consolidate agencies like the Department of Public Works and the Division of Environmental Quality by executive order. Are you aware of this one?
If you can give me the specific site to it, I am aware of quite a few of the 99 cases, but if I can get the specific site, I know some of them have been brought
It's
up.
the request for advisory opinion 1999 MP1, where the CNMI Supreme Court was asked whether the governor could reorganize or consolidate agencies like the Department of Public Works, the Division of Environmental Quality, through an executive order. The Supreme Court ruled that it was clear the governor has no constitutional or statutory authority to alter or abolish statutorily created agencies. These powers are reserved to the legislature. So the same principle applies here with the Casino Commission. It's a statutory body. The Lottery Commission is a statutory body. When you're going to transfer the authority of the Casino Commission to the Lottery Commission, the executive order is creating a statutory obligation to the Lottery Commission, which was not even authorized by the legislature. They're giving additional duties to the Lottery Commission to regulate casinos, to issue licenses and stuff like that, depriving the commissioners of their due process rights and their equal protection rights, because they can only be removed for cause. So by doing this EO, we usurp their own rights. Thank you.
So are you asking whether this is what the EO does? Is whether it violates their due process and their
Correct. Plus also
equal
the Supreme
protection rights?
Correct. Plus also the CNMI's Supreme Court's advisory opinion.
Sure, and I think that would come down to what it means by abolish, what is meant by this transfer. I was here when legal counsel Hallahan talked about how, we look at the form and the function and things and whether they were creating a new entity. And I think those are the things that the court would look at for the EO, right? I think those are the things that they would do. As far as due process and equal protection, due process is your right that when you have a legal entitlement to something to be heard on that matter prior to a deprivation of your liberty. Equal protection is much more about treating people the same. So I'm not sure that it would infringe or have any aspect of equal protection for the EO here, but I understand because there were terminations in there might be some due process implications, and that will come down to whether there was just cause or not for it. And again, but I think the court would be the one that would have to say that. I mean, I could certainly give my opinion. I think Mr. Hallahan might have a different opinion. I think any number of attorneys could sit here and have very different opinions, but I think that's why we have a court system, to definitively say what those answers are. Everything else is really just a lot of pontificating, which means just kind of talking it out. And I could do that here, but I think Mr. Hallahan might disagree. And again, this isn't a court here, and so I don't see what the need is of that exercise for it. But the EO has been issued. I would assume that the governor's counsel was here. I assume he looked at it. He seems to believe it was constitutional. I would assume also it came through the Office of the Attorney General, again, because it affected my clients. I didn't review it. But I would assume it came through the Office of the Attorney General. The Attorney General does have the right that if he finds that something is unconstitutional to bring an action against it. And he has not brought any action against it, so I think that somewhat speaks for itself, as well as to what the AG's thoughts are on it. And so, again, but if you want a definitive answer, you'd have to take it to the court.
Rep. Aquino, you still have the floor.
I yield.
Thank you. Representative Jean-Paul.
Thank you. I know I said that I don't really have a question actually for Robbie Glass, but since good points were pointed out, so I guess my question to you, Robbie, is those court slip opinion or advisory opinion that Representative Danny Aquino had alluded to, or even the court cases such as the Torres versus Commonwealth Utilities Corporation that the Supreme Court have clarified. So my question to you, you don't see that it's the same issue with the EO, what the EO is calling for, which to restructure CCC and give it that authority to the Lottery Commission? You don't see the similarities with all these cases and the slip opinion and advisory opinion from the Supreme Court?
I'm not sure. I'm not going to say whether it's the same or not. Again, I'd leave that up to the court to make that determination. What I'm saying is it's going to come down to things like, did the EO actually abolish the CCC, or is there still an entity called the CCC that still exists? It just doesn't have members in it because they were terminated.
Okay,
so it'd be those kinds of questions are the things that I would believe the court would look at. And again, I did not review the EO before it went out. I'm just saying I'm pretty sure it went through our office because those things tend to go through our office. But that's my clients. The CCC is my client for the bankruptcy.
Okay.
It is a representation for the bankruptcy, so I don't represent them just generally. But I don't want to speak out, on something that might also harm them because they're still my clients. So I think this is an issue that if you're talking about whether the EO is constitutional or not, it really is something that the courts would have to decide. I can't tell you whether something's constitutional. I can have a legal opinion all day long. Mr. Hallahan, again, is going to have a legal opinion. I'm sorry to keep using him as an example, but he issued one for you guys because he's your counsel.
Right.
And so I think you get any number of attorneys in here. They might have a different reading of it. That's part of what attorneys do. Our job is to obviously go in and find how things are similar, how things are different, to advocate for our clients. And so I think, to some extent, that might even be the wrong question to ask. Is not whether the EO is constitutional or not, but it's just whether, is this the best path forward for the Commonwealth or not? Right? The constitutionality can still be challenged. But for the body sitting here, is this the best path forward, or is this a great opportunity for the legislature also to amend these statutes at this point? Is it a good opportunity for the legislature to take a look at how the CCC is structured and how everything is running and do that? I mean, you've got the opportunity to do that right now as the body. And so I think those are probably maybe the better questions we should be asking.
Right, and I tend to agree with you that that's exactly my argument about the EO, right, is that the rightful way should be the legislative body to go back to these statutory statutes, Commonwealth law, and fix it, modify it to better it, right? Not through an EO, because I mean that is vested also in the executive branch to exercise EO under the Constitution, right? And we all know that. But since you mentioned that CCC is your clientele, right? So you agree that CCC is a statutory agency?
Yes, I mean, it's created by statute.
Right.
Yes, I do agree with you on that. There's a specific statute that says the CCC is created and exists in that way. And the legislature has every right to make laws for them as it did. And again, even without the EO, with the EO, with approving or disproving the EO, the legislature can still take action.
Right, and similarly is Commonwealth Utility Corporation is a statutory agency, right? You agree with that? It's
The
created.
CUC?
Yeah.
It has a statutory creation.
Right,
I want to
and
review I just want to review the Constitution because I know there are some of the constitutionally created agencies. I just want to make sure it's not in there, but I believe it's just statutory.
Right, and I guess that's the point and argument that we're trying to argue, that that CCC is considered a statutory agency, and that what the EO codes, which the Constitution says that you can allocate, but to restructure is perhaps one of the arguments on the EO. But I just wanted, thank you, Chair, and I just wanted to make that known. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Sablan. Representative Aquino?
Chairman, if I can ask our own legal counsel this?
Yes, I was getting there too, but yes, go ahead.
Joe, the Casino Commission is created through statute, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Is the Lottery Commission created through statute?
Yes.
Okay, through the EO, transferring some or all of the regulatory functions from the Casino Commission to the Lottery Commission, does that usurp the legislative authority?
The way the EO was drafted, I do think that it's unconstitutional and usurps the legislature's authority, yes.
Does the EO create the statute for the legislature for the Lottery Commission.
Does the EO create, the EO?
No,
does
the
not
EO
create-
is transferring the power from the Casino Commission to the Lottery Commission, correct?
Yes.
So in essence, they're doing the legislature's job.
I think that's part of, yes, that's part of the argument, right? Because
Correct.
the legislature has set up the casino commission with all these rules and all these, right, to decide who is actually the commissioners and who's going to be making these decisions.
Correct.
And so by removing that and then giving it to a single person, yeah, I would say that sounds more like a statutory rewrite than a reallocation of the departments. There was a case like Mofnis
Correct.
case that's been cited, and in that one they said that like an okay allocation was moving the Office of Personnel and just placing it in I think the personnel office within the office of the governor, and so that would be an okay allocation because they're just merely placing it into another like overarching agency.
Correct.
But in my opinion, that's different from what's happened here because there's multiple reasons, but I think that's probably the clearest.
And the EO is giving the lottery, they're restructuring because they're giving the Lottery Commission additional duties and functions that were once under the Casino Commission,
I agree with you.
all right? Are you familiar with the advisory opinion in the 1999 advisory opinion from the Supreme Court
I do not know what advisory opinion you're referring to.
regarding Public Works and the Division of Environmental Quality? They were going to reorganize or restructure them through an executive order, and that the Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional.
So I tried to look that. What was the citation? I'm sorry, I have not.
Request for advisory opinion, 1999, MP1.
I have not seen that. No.
All right, thank you. Are you?
Thank you, Rep. Aquino. Representative from Madam Floor Leader.
I'd like to ask my colleague to expand a little bit more on what that means exactly. If our attorney here hasn't read it and he has, then I'd like to know what the gist of the 1999 or whatever it is that he's talking about, so that I can either ask a follow-up and really understand what he's trying to express.
Go ahead.
So the Supreme Court was asked whether the governor could reorganize the Department of Public Works and the Division of Environmental Quality through an executive order. The court said that the governor has no constitutional or statutory authority to alter or abolish statutorily created agencies. These powers are reserved for the legislature. The issue also is that we have our own Commonwealth laws or Commonwealth Supreme Court cases, as well as Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court cases, where it protects the casino commissioners and it also protects the legislative functions. You know, and it also states that what's going on with this executive order is usurping our authority as legislators. Thank you.
Thank you, colleague. I appreciate that. And again, I'm going to go back to the argument at hand is the constitutionality of the EO, right? That is what we're arguing. And if we're going to concentrate on the basis of the constitutionality of the EO, then I would like to have this actually pursued at the court. Because if we're going to sit here and argue about the constitutionality of the EO, our colleague has a separate interpretation, our counsel has a separate interpretation, Attorney Glass has a separate interpretation, Rep. Sablon has a different interpretation. And once again, there is a branch that could determine whether or not the EO is constitutional. And we keep all of the opinions come back to whether or not the questions we've been asking our counsels are whether or not the EO is constitutional or not. So if that is going to be the discussion of the EO, that is not our job to do, okay? We can argue about a lot of things, but the main focus has been the constitutionality. And if that is the case, then I motion that the constitutionality not be addressed here, but be filed at the court for the court to determine whether or not the EO is in violation of the Constitution.
Before I answer any other questions, it seems as if we're going around in circles it's coming to a point where I'll hear this out. It's coming to a point where I'm gonna recommend that we draft a committee report and place it before the House to be voted on the session.
No objection on that. And I want to also, can I also just chime in with the points that our floor leader had addressed?
Go ahead, recognize Rep. Aquino before you continue. He had his hand up first.
Okay, thank you,
Sorry.
Chairman. I'll wait.
Okay, go ahead. He yields to you.
Thank you, Chairman. And the floor leader is right. The constitutionality is one of them. That's just one aspect of what we are arguing about the EO. There's so many others. Because when they created CCC through a statutory, through a Commonwealth law, there's a lot of things that the EO does not do that anymore that CCC used to have. The representation for first and second senatorial, that's one, other than the constitutionality. There is also the issue with the EO saying that that there's a savings by doing this EO. I absolutely disagree because the CCC is actually, its operations are actually coming out of the regulatory fees and not from the general fund. So having to put the functions of CCC to the Lottery Commission through the division of gaming and perhaps in revenue tax, that will put costs on the general fund. Right now, there is not a penny is being spent at CCC because the funding that operates CCC is coming outside of the general fund. It's the regulatory fees. So perhaps the whereas in the EO that there is savings is absolutely perhaps wrong. And the constitutionality is not the only issue here that we're discussing about the EO. There's several things. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Sablan. Representative Aquino, then Madam Floor Leader.
I just want to add this, is that the Lottery Commission was created under 4 CMC Section 1501. It has the powers that are strictly limited to overseeing lottery operations. It has no legal authority to regulate casinos, issue gaming licenses, or enforce casino compliance. I would like to ask our legal counsel, am I correct so far?
Yes, it sounds correct.
So since there's no statute allowing to assume those duties and no provisions in the law that allows a casino commission to delegate or transfer its powers, as the semi-Supreme Court reaffirmed in an advisory opinion, the government agencies must operate strictly within the powers granted by the statute. Allowing the executive transfer would bypass the legislature entirely and violate the core tenet of our constitutional structure. Am I correct?
Yes, I agree with you. I think the EO is unconstitutional. Yes.
And then the issue about that there's no casino, I heard that on Wednesday, so we should let the EO go through. So since there's no fire, since it's rainy season right now, should we abolish the fire department for maybe a month? Agencies do not vanish just because they are momentarily inactive. Moreover, the casino still has a continuing legal responsibility, including enforcement, oversight, and license compliance, even in the absence of live gaming operations. Like my colleague said there's more than the constitutional issue here. It's overstepping the legislative function. That is the problem right now with me, with this thing, is that the EO oversteps the legislature's authority. We need to amend this in order to have the Lottery Commission do these things. Or if we're going to repeal the Casino Commission, it has to be the function of this body, not through an executive order. That's what we're saying here. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Aquino. Before I recognize you, Madam Floor Leader, I'm going to reiterate what I mentioned earlier. We're going in circles. In the interest of time, I'm going to allow you to state your statement. But when we're done, I'm gonna ask that we rise back into our committee meeting and we take a vote on a committee report that would place this before the House, before a vote by the whole members. You're
Okay.
recognized, Madam Floyer.
So our wonderful colleague in Precinct 2 mentioned that, and he used the example of not having a casino, and he used fire as an example to stop the fire department. Well, at any rate, that is a bad example because unlike the Casino Commission, fires can occur by either, number one, humanly made or by accident. This was humanly made. There was accidents there, but let's not talk about that. I disagree with you wholeheartedly. I think that you have some valid points, but the CCC is also incurring expenses at the sake of the coffers. Am I right? And if I'm wrong, someone please go ahead, just say yes or no to that. So they're incurring expenses right now. And in fact, at one point, if I'm not mistaken, they wanted to get paid a certain amount of money for services that they claimed they conducted. What services? So if that was if they conducted a service, then something must have happened that we don't know about. Maybe a proposal on how the licenses would be purchased, revoked, whatever, within their duty. But we haven't seen that. Sir, can I engage with Mr. Robbie Glass? Thank you. Robbie, please.
Am I on now? Oh, I'm on now. There we go. I turned it off. I'm sorry. So just because this was brought up, a couple of things as to the payments and things, right? One, there was a $250,000 payment from the general fund that was supposed to be going over there. That was stopped by the Secretary of Finance from that payment because it was deemed to, according to the letter, I think Finance received that it was unconstitutional or illegal payment. But that was coming from the general fund for that. I think one of the central questions to that, and I'm not answering this by any means, but just one of the questions of that is, at the end of the day, if there's no regulatory fee being paid and you have vendors out there, are they going to turn to the Commonwealth for that payment? I mean, there's rents due at the Gualarai Springs or Springs Plaza where the building is and things. My understanding is there was rent that was due. I know there's been testimony from the commissioner to that effect. Obviously, there's the commissioner's salaries. They're very concerned about that. And so each of those, I mean, if they're not paid through the regulatory fund, the question is going to be at the end of the day, does that come from the central government? And is the central government going to be responsible for paying that? I'm not answering that question as a yes or a no, but I'm just posing that because I think that's something for the committee to consider, that there is cost to this. There is cost to continuing to operate a industry and a thing that doesn't have the casino there paying that regulatory fee at this time. Maybe if there's a payment in the future, it can be reimbursed and things. I mean, there's all sorts of different things, but I do think that's something for consideration.
And I have to agree with you because then it will come back to this body who appropriates the money to draft legislation to pay them. Correct? And maybe even vendors at this moment, because why? We are in a habit of not paying vendors. But I'm not going to go into this argument right now. But the CCC is still incurring expenses they're still actually doing this stuff with nothing happening right now. They are not getting paid. I'm so sorry to hear that. I have at-will employees that get fired for no reason, just because they're supporting a government a candidate for running for the governor, for example. Okay, I don't think that's fair, but it happens. No one advocates for them. So at the end of the day, I'm going to close here, Chairman, but at the end of the day, we cannot even agree whether or not issues arise. One side says the executive order is constitutional. The other side says it's non-constitutional. One says there's a separation of power. One is specifically honing in on constitutional provisions. One says it's a statutory conflict. We're trying to attempt a resolution. Formal challenges are being brought up. This is not, again, if this is the case and we're doing this, I would rather have that we see and we formulate, if that's what you want, a committee report, or even let's vote on it now and let's take a vote today on the EO and kill it in this committee. But as far as I'm concerned, if the question still poses back to whether it's constitutional or not, I ask that this committee consider giving this to the court and let the court determine that, because that is not our job.
You still have the floor.
It might be our job to a certain extent, because I'm pretty sure Rep. Sablan might object to that statement. But at the end of the day, there are issues that arise that where it's causing all of us to have differences of opinion, which is absolutely okay. But if the argument continues to come back and the debate comes back to whether or not it's constitutional, we've asked all councils involved, including 2 of our own. The governor's council was here yesterday. God rest his soul, former governor, or Governor Palacios. Today we have Attorney Glass. That's 4 attorneys. Oh, and sorry, Attorney Antoinette. That's 5 attorneys already at our disposal. That's enough for me to say that that's basta, naalum basta dikote, and let them be the one to decide that, whether or not if it's constitutional or not. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Madam Floor Leader. And before we proceed, maybe you should save your arguments for the floor on the House session. I've kind of heard enough. The committee's job is to find
Just point
balance
of
on both
clarification,
sides.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes. go
because
ahead.
my objection is just to make it crystal clear in this committee proceeding that I object on bringing this to the court, but I agree with you that you mentioned earlier that we recommend that the full body decide on this. I just want to make my objection clear and that it's not misconstrued or what. Thank you.
And at this point of time, thank you, Representative Sablan. At this point of time, I find that there is cause that we dissolve back into committee of the out of committee of the whole, come back and recommend that, make a motion that we draft a committee report stating that we're going to leave it. The committee did its due diligence, and we can't find a middle ground, so we're going to leave it to the rest of the House to decide. And you guys can save your arguments for that day. But I do thank you all for a good debate. It's a very healthy debate. So with that said, Council Glass, we really appreciate your time today. You helped to give the committee some insight, good insight, and some clarity. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you calling me here instead of me just hearing my name over the stream and having to come in and see what's being said about me. So do really very much
We're not
appreciate
talking behind your back.
Appreciate it. That's live stream. It's not behind my back. It's out there for the world. I'm fine with it. But I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Councilor. All right, members, is there a motion that we rise back into our committee meeting? There's a motion that we rise back into our committee meeting out of committee of the whole. And it has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. We are back into our committee meeting. And then we still have before us the governor's executive order. And during our discussion under committee of the whole, we had agreed that we can't come to a consensus right now. So we're going to leave it up to the whole House, the whole membership of the House to decide on the CEO. Recognize, Madam
Can you
Floor,
go ahead and clarify your statement again one more time?
that we're gonna recommend a motion that we recommend a committee report that the JGO recommends that this be placed before the whole House to decide.
Thank you, Chairman, but for the record, I'd also like to put in my view. And while I sit in this committee, I don't agree that we're going to formulate this as a whole. I stand on the outside of that, but I will support my colleagues and stand with them. But as an individual, I don't agree. I think we should just, if we can vote on it now and determine this, then so be it. I don't see why we have to wait for the session. But if you want to roll call vote that, and
Thank you, Madam Floor.
Thank
But
you.
that would be unwise. We do not have our full membership of the JGO. That's why we have 11 to prevent a deadlock. And in that case, we leave it to the House to decide. And that's the only fair way to go that I see. You guys okay with that? For a committee report? Short recess. from recess and we were still under, we just rose back into committee. And we're still under discussion under the executive order. And I believe, Madam Floor Leader, you still had the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Chairman. So that recess was really long. I'm not sure where we're at this part of the discussion. However, I'd like to move that we take a roll call for the,
My apologies, Madam Chair.
sorry.
We would have to, someone would have to motion for something, a committee report. We go through a voice vote, and then if there's an opposition, we would go through a roll call. That's the procedure.
okay then, so then I yield my time.
Okay? Floor still open. Any motions? What's the motion?
Well, you know what? I'll do the motion. Mr. Chairman, may I be?
You recognize the Vice?
Thank you, Chairman. Motion that we write up a committee report that the full body decides on the EO as per rejection or acceptance of the EO. So move.
There's a motion that to draft a committee report to leave it up to the full body of the House to decide on the either rejection or letting the EO go through. And it has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Nay. All those opposed say nay. Nay. State your opposition.
Once again, I think that we can address this EO and this committee, and it's unfortunate that the members are not here. But my vote is a nay, absolute nay, for this committee report to be furnished. And then, if that is the case, and one should be furnished, I will be putting my signature as a do not concur.
Vice Speaker, do you have a state your opposition? If you'd like to state your
I vote nay on its entirety.
Okay. So roll call. Mr. Rabalaman, can you call roll? Thank you.
Representative Ralph Yumo. Okay. Representative John Paul Sablan.
Yes.
Representative Julie Ogo. Representative Joseph Flores.
Yes.
Representative Marissa Flores.
Nay.
Representative Diego Camacho.
Nay.
Representative Angelo Camacho. Representative Daniel Aquino.
Resounding yes.
Representative Vincent O'Don. Representative Blas Jonathan Atao.
Yes.
Representative Joel Camacho.
Yes.
The Madam Chairman, we have 6 in the affirmative and 2 in the opposition.
All right. With that, we have a committee report that shall be going before the full House to vote on the Governor's executive order on our next session. Thank you, members. With that, we are now under our next item of our order of business. Miscellaneous. Anything on miscellaneous? Okay, that we're now moving down to adjournment. Members, before we adjourn, we have another continuation of our committee meeting earlier to convene and adjourn from that as well. So there is a motion to adjourn this committee meeting, which was the committee meeting dated on Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025, and it has been seconded. We are hereby, or all those in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. We are hereby adjourned. Thank you. And we left off at House Bill 24-37. And Madam Floor Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to withdraw my initial motion on House Bill 2437 and move to the table.
There's a motion to table House Bill 24-37 pending further amendments, and it has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. House Bill 2437 is hereby tabled. And Madam Floor Leader, I just received a message from Mr. John Bradley from the AG's office, and the committee had given them a timetable to July 30th to submit comments. So they're asking us if we can rescind our actions from earlier regarding House Bill 2428. I believe the committee voted to have a committee report for the passage of this bill, but if we can, maybe if you can withdraw your motion, then we pull this bill back out and table it for pending those incoming comments.
Thank you, Chairman, and I wish I had known that the comments were received. At this time, I'd like to withdraw my motion on House Bill 2428 pending further comments from pertinent agencies.
There's a motion that we withdraw our actions from earlier to rescind our actions on having a committee report for the passage of House Bill 2428, and it has been seconded. All those in favor of that motion say aye. Those opposed say nay. House Bill 2428 is hereby tabled for pending comments to be received from the Attorney General's office. Thank you, members. That disposes all of our items under our agenda for the committee meeting earlier. And now we're under item 6, miscellaneous. Is there anything under miscellaneous? Members, I apologize. I wanted to do this before we started, but I don't know how we just got caught up and wanted to do maybe if we can just do a moment of silent prayer for our deceased governor. Thank you. Rest in peace, Governor Palacios. Recognized Floor Leader.
Thank you, Chairman, and I know that my colleagues are ready to leave, but it would be a disservice that we do not mention and honor him during this time. And like you, I apologize to the public that it just seems business as usual, because that's what we do. We're here to work, and I'm sure that the late governor would have wanted that and expected that from us. But I just want to say that he is definitely leaving a legacy, and his executive order is definitely one of those to be for the books for all of us. And I'd just like to send my condolences and my sympathies during their time of loss to First Lady Wella Palacios, their children, and their family. And at the end, I just would like to, I wish I thanked him for his service when he was alive, because just like our resolutions, it seems we give resolutions more when they're not here. So I don't know. I know he's up there looking at us, but sir, thank you for your service and your commitment to our government. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Floor Leader. Floor is still open. I too would like to extend my deepest sympathies and condolences to the First Lady and her family on their timely passing of our Governor Palacios. May he rest in peace. And with that said, we are under the last order of our business, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? There's a motion to adjourn and it has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. We are hereby adjourned. Thank you so much, members.